Perfect. And we are now recording. Okay, so we're going to look here at these pages. I put it up wrong. Sorry, guys. I'm usually more prepared than this. Okay, perfect. So today we are doing writing, which I think is always kind of fun because with reading, it's like you're having to understand other people, but with writing, you get to produce your own ideas. So very first thing, guys, let's look at these three pictures, okay? What's happening here?
It's very late for that worker.
Right? What time is that? It says it's
It's maybe 9, almost 9.
9:45, right? Well,
9:45.
so
Yeah.
let's say maybe this is in the morning, right? It's
Yeah.
9:45 in the morning. What's the problem then?
The computer doesn't work.
Just this one right here. If it's 9:45 in the morning and then it
Oh,
looks like
Nobody is there.
yeah,
Yeah,
nobody's
yeah.
showing up to work on time, right?
Yeah.
So guys, like, okay, I'll do my work today, right? So let's look here again. So right now it's about 10:30, let's say in the morning. We got some more people there, but what's going on over here?
Somebody is trying to, somebody is trying to reach one person.
Yeah, right. The phone's ringing. Do these guys seem to be reacting?
No.
No, they're just letting the phone ring. They're chilling at the water cooler, having a good time. It's not even lunchtime yet, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then what's going on with this guy over here?
Oh,
He dropped off
coffee.
the coffee
In the computer.
keyboard.
Right? He is destroying property that belongs to his boss by spilling coffee all over it. So did he spill coffee on the monitor or the keyboard or the mouse?
The keyboard.
In the office.
Perfect. All over the office. So let's look here. What kind of problems does this company have?
Maybe the supervisor is not there.
Right? Maybe they don't have a supervisor. That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
So that's one. Asma, I think you were saying something?
The problem is the people.
The people, right? It seems like those guys just don't want to show up to work or do their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Asma, you were saying something. I just keep missing it.
Kind of messy or something.
Yeah, kind of messy, right? It seems like they get a little bit of work done, but they're kind of messy. They're not really organized. They're not really doing what they need to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think this company should do about these problems? What should the company do about these problems?
More control.
More control, right? Like give them a supervisor.
One supervisor, yeah.
Yeah. What else? What other rules do you think that the organization should put in place for all of this?
As in, speak fair and make clear rules, and then if the people don't follow the rules, fire people.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's actually something that's interesting with organizations, right? Is that they don't really have firm rules, and because they don't have firm rules, they can't fire people, right? You can't say like, oh, well, they were doing something wrong. It's like, well, where does it say they were doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good idea. It's like they need to obviously put rules in place and they need to enforce them, right? They need to make sure people are doing them.
Yeah.
And what kind of specific rules? Let's maybe think of one rule for each of these that would address this. So what is a rule right here that we could have that could have prevented this?
The entry time. Everybody need to
be on time.
The employee should.
Entry time.
Yeah. Everyone needs to be on time, and that time is, let's say, 9:30 at the latest. You need to be to work by 9:30.
Yeah.
I think some really cool organizations, they'll say, like, you know, I need you in the office anytime between 7 to 9, and you have to work 8 hours, and you leave between 3 and 5, right? I think that those are, for me, the best bosses, when they kind of say, you know, here's your window, whatever works for you within that, as long as you're here between, like, the hours of 9 and 3, solid, right? Okay, what about right here? What's a rule they could have done with this one?
The break had to be like a few minutes, but people had to respect. If they say 10 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. Shorter breaks, or maybe, you know, making sure that those breaks aren't at the same time as everyone else. Sometimes it's bad if certain offices, everyone just stops working at once. Who's going to answer the phones, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You could also maybe have a rule. Have you guys been in an office and they say the phone can only ring 3 times and someone has to pick it up?
Yeah, 2 times in my office.
Yeah, 2
Two
times,
times. Yeah.
right? If you don't have it by the second ring, like if someone hears it, that could be a write-up, right? You can get in trouble.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that might be another rule, right? Like, okay, even if you're on break, you know, you guys can relax by the water cooler if nothing's going on, but if that phone rings, you have to pick it up by the third ring, the second ring, whichever it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about this guy over here? What rule would have prevented this?
Drink or
no drinking or no food in the desk.
Yeah, no
Exactly.
food at your desk,
No
right?
food, no
you
drink.
should drink or eat in the rest area or
Yeah,
In
the
the
break room.
kitchen.
Yeah.
break area.
So now we have to do a confession. Of all of these three, which one are you most likely to break? Which rule are you most likely to break? Because for me, it's eating at my desk. I always have like a drink or like, you know, some type of food like at my desk because we don't really take a lunch break. It's like we're eating and working at the same time, right? So this one is definitely the one I would break. What about you guys?
I never do because in my country I was a lawyer. So if you damage one document, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
So I never put nothing with water or something like that next to my desk.
So for you, you're like absolutely right.
Yeah.
So which one do you think you're most likely to break on it? Do you think showing up on time or missing a phone call?
For me, missing a phone call maybe.
Just missing like the second ring versus like, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of strict. I'm like, second ring, like you start running as soon as the thing starts ringing, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, what about you, Asma and Luis?
I do the same. I have some kind of food in my desk, so or coffee, tea, or whatever. But my job is not all is in the computer. So I don't have in my desk any important document.
Oh yeah.
So but I have equipment in my desk that I need to be careful. Careful.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to spill because you do science stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what Luis does. I think it's science stuff, so it makes sense. You don't want to like get coffee everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, Asma, which one about you? Do you think spilling stuff, missing the phone, or being late?
I think being late.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes I like to more sleeping.
Guys, I actually did that today. I almost missed class today. I took a nap. It was like 4 o'clock. I just kind of fell asleep on the couch. Wasn't really thinking. And I woke up and it was 5:30. I was like, oh my God. I just set the alarm, you know, because I was like, I'm not going to sleep that long. So I feel you on that. Sometimes the sleeping is just too good to like wake up, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to move on here. And I realized that I did not share correctly. So I'm going to stop sharing very quickly. And I'm going to share again. Make sure now I share with the sound. Okay. All right. We're back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So if you guys would just listen to this, and then I want you guys to pay attention to this. So a writer's note. Who can read this for me?
Okay. Use the subject line to write a short but clear letter for your email that describe the content of the message.
Perfect. So use the subject line to write a short but clear title for your email that describes the content of your message, right? So that's what all the texts I just got. My friend just quit her job. And she was, do you think like the subject of her email would be? If she's quitting her job, what would, huh?
See you.
See you later. Sorry for your loss, right? So you guys get what I'm saying, though. It might be something like "my last day is," or you know, like think, right? So you guys kind of get it. It's just a short, like maybe 2 words, all the way up to like maximum 10 words. You don't want to get too long because people will think you're like a spam bot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And you always want to be professional, right? Like you want to use proper capitalization, pieces like that, right? Keeping in mind it's a title, so any word that isn't a preposition in a title is capitalized. That's what that means. So you would say attention to company policies. All of these words you do not capitalize to because it's a preposition. It's kind of like one of those little filler words, but you do capitalize all of these nouns as well as most of the verbs. Okay? All right. Okay, so we are going to click here and listen.
Unit 3, a job to do. Page 38. Lesson 2, writing.
Yeah.
Exercise 1B.
Many office managers are noticing the following problems. 1. Employees are not coming to work on time. 2. Some employees are taking longer and longer breaks. 3. Coffee and water spills are hurting computer keyboards. Please follow these company policies available in your employee handbook. All employees must be at work by 9 a.m. Break times are from 10 to 10:15 and 3 to 3:15 daily. Employees may not eat or drink near computers. If you have questions or comments, please see your office manager. Thank you. Miles Bain.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So who is Miles Bain? What is his title?
Is president.
Right, he's the president. I was kind of looking down here. I was like, oh, this office manager is kind of feeling himself, right? But no, he is the president, and he is saying you will be to work by 9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And a couple other pieces. So let's answer these questions down here. Number 1, Luis, would you mind to read this?
Okay, look at the subject line. What is the email about?
Okay, so Asma, what is this email about?
About a rule or
About
the
rules, right? And what did he say specifically? It's about
company policies.
company policies, right? So he's trying to draw attention to these company policies. It seems like they were already in existence, right? He's like, this is in your employee handbook is what he called it, right? He's like,
It's like a reminder to all employees.
yeah. Like this is just a reminder that when you guys signed a contract, you said you'd be at work by 9 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So what is this email about? It's about company policies. Perfect. Okay. So what are the specific problems when we're looking at this beginning? We kind of already went over those. Do you guys just want to shout them out? What are some of these specific problems?
People are not coming on time to work.
Right? Not coming to work on time. What else?
This is
Some
go ahead.
some employees are taking longer and longer breaks.
Right? Some employees are taking longer and longer breaks. It's only supposed to be 15 minutes, guys. You guys have been chatting for 45, right? Okay, and Luis, what's this number 3?
Is coffee and water spill are hurting computer keyboards.
Perfect.
So appears some the company need spend a lot of money replace the keyboard from the computer.
Yeah, I mean those things are easily $50 a pop. If everyone's breaking one every 2 weeks, that adds up, right?
So,
We got to worry about the money here, people. Okay.
So in this, the answer can be is a problem with people behaviors.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. That's what it seems like. It's like, we have those three very specific problems, people coming to time, longer breaks, and then the keyboards. But it really seems like the most specific problem is people don't follow the rules, right? Their behavior is poor.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this is kind of like when you go to a job that you got to be there on time, right? Like we all know that. That's not anything that,
Exactly.
So, and then two, it's like we also know like talking for 45 minutes at the water cooler is probably not okay, right? It's like it might be okay depending on company culture, depending on what you have done that day, what you have left to do, right? But a lot of the time you're keeping someone else from doing their work too, right? Because those are common spaces. If you guys are talking really loud, how is somebody else supposed to get their work done?
Exactly.
So there's a lot of pieces to that, but I like that you just brought that up. It's like, really, there's just behavioral problems. Like our staff just cannot behave themselves. Okay.
Okay.
So according to the email, where can employees find the company policies?
The handbooks.
Right? The employee handbook.
Employee handbooks, yeah.
Which says to me that these have been rules for a long time and these people have not been listening to them, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And at the end of the email, who should employees contact if they have any questions?
The office manager.
The office manager, right? So that doesn't mean hit reply and go talk to Miles Bain and be like, sir, Mr. President, I don't think this is accurate, right? He's like, do not
Not a
at
good
me.
idea.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah, I'm just the president here. Don't talk to me. Go talk to your office manager, right? Exactly. All right, so I think we've done pretty good at identifying some workplace problems and then writing an email describing the rules. Do you guys feel pretty confident in this piece right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I do want to point out some very cool little pieces that are good to help you organize your writing. And we went over this again last week, I think, when we talked about numbers and bullet points, right? So when would we use either of these? When we're making what?
When you are doing the decoration, detail decoration or something.
Decoration maybe, like it could be just formatting, it looks better, but what are both of these things, right? They're making...
No, I mean like a decoration, how you say that? Like a
declaration?
No.
Punctuation?
No, it's you have to enumerate something. Right?
Enumerate. I think we're on the right track. So you got to enumerate something. You're making points. It's like point 1, point 2, point 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or when you need to highlight some point, a specific point.
Organize.
Yep. Highlighting some specific points, and when do you use those, right? So when you're making something, it starts with an L. What's the rest of these letters? It's a 4-letter word.
Luis.
What? Luis? No, close though. It does have an I in it, so I'll give you that. It has an I and an S.
Okay.
And it has an S. What's the last one?
A.
Lisa?
List.
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 Oh, there you go. We got it. Okay? We got it. I was like, Lisa. I was like, Luis, where are you at? We got it right now. No, so see, we have, they're making lists, right? So we have the following problems, and here's a list of all the problems that we have. And then we have these policies, and here's a list of all the policies that we have, right? So when you're creating a list of things, that's when it's really good to use these bullet points, to use these numerical markers, okay? Does that help?
Yeah.
So why did he choose to use these numbers up here and then use bullet points down here? Why did he choose to do that?
For make the difference, maybe?
Yeah, kind of like make sure you understand that these are two different lists, like these are the problems and these are the solutions, right? Honestly, I think either would have worked in either situation. I think for me, with the problems, it's like he wants you to know that there's like how many problems there are. Like, I don't even want you to count how many bullet points there are here. You guys are giving me 3 daggone problems and it's aggravating me, right?
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's just to hit home, like, this is how annoying you people have been, right? I have 3 problems with you.
Or make the object serious. good that he used the number, and the point for the note, something like notes or rules.
Yes. So I kind of like the way, I think you said that, right? It's like here we have a very specific number of things. It's like we only have 3 problems, but down here we have a lot of different rules. We're just talking about these 3 right now. So maybe if you put 1, 2, 3, people would be like, oh, we only have those 3 words. Like now let's like put a fire in the trash can, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's why he wanted to leave it more ambiguous with less detail, right? So up here it was more detailed because we want to make sure, like you guys know, we have these 3 problems. And down here, he wanted to leave it more vague, more ambiguous, with less detail. So if people ask more questions, he can elaborate more on this, like give you guys more information, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, do you guys have any questions about this page, or are you ready to move on to the next one?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, we're ready. Let's go. Okay. So we're gonna, usually what we'll do is, if we were in class, we would be writing about this, but since we're here, I'll do most of the writing. So if you guys have any questions about spelling or anything like that, feel free to ask, okay?
Okay.
Mhm.
So what kind of problems occur in apartment buildings and neighborhoods? I wish Jocelyn was here. Have you guys heard his story? He had a big thing with one of his neighbors. Yeah. So anyway, what kind of problems occur in apartment buildings or neighborhoods?
The noise is the
Noise.
principal.
Noise.
Yeah.
So let's make a full sentence about that.
Yeah.
The noise
No.
From
Noise.
another apartment or another neighborhood.
Yeah.
from another houses
Oh,
Mhm.
neighborhood. Okay. Another.
or apartment is a problem, right?
Mhm.
When we can use the teenage is like a neighborhood.
Sorry, when do we use what?
Tinan.
Tenant?
Tinan is the same neighbor.
I can't hear you.
No.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
He talking about the owner or tenant or the
Yeah.
person who rent the apartment.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it the same? Is it
Contractor?
Tenant.
No.
That's what you're
No,
asking.
it's
Tenant.
Mhm.
Tenant. A
Yeah.
tenant is someone who rents,
Mhm. I
Tenants.
see.
Okay.
right? So if you rent an apartment or a house, you're still a tenant. When you own, you're not a tenant,
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
if that helps.
So and the neighbor is the person to live next to me.
Yep. Your neighbor is the person who lives next to you.
Next
Yeah,
to me.
And then your landlord is the person you give your rent to every month.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
what other kind of problems occur in apartment buildings or neighborhoods?
I have an apartment in my country,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived there for 20 years, and at least twice a week,
Mm-hmm.
I found my parking lot. Somebody else is using my parking lot. So when you come to lunch and you only have 1 hour or 2 hours,
Yeah.
and you find your parking lot busy, oh my God, that was
Yes.
Yes. I
Yes.
think parking is a big issue. Like people will fight over a parking space. Right? Is that what you were mentioning? Are you guys there? I think my internet's acting weird.
Yeah.
Are you guys still there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah.
Low wireless signal.
Oh, one more time. Sorry, guys.
You
My
have
internet really is acting
very
silly.
low level to wireless. You saw the wireless signal?
Sorry, I really can't hear you guys. I'm so sorry. My internet must not be working right. Just, what did you say again?
Your wireless signal is very low.
Yes, I don't know what's wrong with my wireless signal. That's why I've been trying to I'm churning stuff off and doing all these things. I don't know what's happened with my internet. My sister moved in with me, and ever since it's been crazy. So anyway, hopefully that we are okay. So I know that we were talking about parking right before I went away. So people will fight over some parking spots, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets, I think, a little crazy. What about for you, Asma? What's a big problem in your neighborhood or in your apartment buildings?
In my neighborhood, I think the rate of the school is low.
Interesting. So the school is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I think that sometimes, especially in America, the way that we fund our schools is through local taxes. So if you live in a neighborhood where everyone is poor, the schools don't get as much funding as neighborhoods that are very rich.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's something that in America, I have a friend who's in law school, and that is like his number one problem. Because he grew up in Giles County. Do you guys know where that's at? It's a very rural, very poor county.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it doesn't make sense that like we don't have the same type of education as kids who live up in Northern Virginia, who have like, it's very, very affluent, right? And it does, it changes the outcomes. In our master's program, we talked about that, how the kids who went to elementary and high school up in Northern Virginia, their fundamentals were a lot better than ours who grew up in Southwest Virginia and the rural counties with less people, so we had less money.
Yeah.
So it does, it impacts it. I'm glad that you brought that up, Asma. Asma's always like thinking up here. Like I'm down here like, how much do your neighbors annoy you? And she's like, schools.
Yeah, because when you start to research about the new houses or new apartments, you should to know the rate of the school if you have children or.
Perfect. Right. Okay. So we have problems. The rating of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Salem had good school, and Roanoke County had good school. I don't know. I don't have the experience, but I have a friend with children, and they told me and in Salem, I know the elementary is a good school. I don't know. I don't have experience.
I've heard that Salem, like a lot of, like Salem is interesting because it doesn't have a lot of work, but it has a lot of people that want to live there, right? I feel like everyone in Salem, like they might work in Salem, but most of them drive to Roanoke or Blacksburg for work.
It's very really quiet. It's a quiet town. It's very quiet, you can walk everywhere, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, so which rules or policies focus on these programs? Or sorry, which rules or policies focus on these problems? So we already talked about one policy, which was the way funding happens for schools, right? So are there any rules around noise or parking that help the problems?
Yeah. Here in my apartment, the administrator said that after 10 o'clock, the noises, before the 10 o'clock in the PM, 10 p.m., before that the hour, the noises is permission. Okay. Yeah. So after that, we have to be more careful with maybe low the TV or the music or try to not ruin in the apartment.
Yes, so we usually call those quiet hours. So you'll have quiet hours between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., right?
Yes.
Perfect, right? And then what about parking? Are there any policies or rules around parking?
Yes, in my case, the housing law is not a law, but it's a private contract for the owner that says you only have one parking, so you only have to use your parking lot.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to use somebody else's parking lot, but people,
Yeah. And then what's the consequence if those rules aren't met? So if somebody violates quiet hours or someone parks in your space, what happens then?
Well, you can sue somebody, or you always complain with the administration, but
You can
Like,
it's
I'm going
charge.
neighbor,
straight
you
to
know.
suing.
It's neighbor. It's my neighbor. I can do nothing against my neighbor. I'm not
Yeah.
that kind of person, you know. But it's
I think
really
that's fair.
frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. Asma, were you saying something? I interrupted.
You can charge if anyone take another place for the parking. You can charge for the money, and then he or she don't do that again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Put like a little bill in their windshield, like, this is how much it cost me to park here for a day. So now you need to pay me that back, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And then Luis, what about quiet hours? How do you what do you do if if someone violates quiet hours?
Um, I am the noisily neighbor in the apartment building because I live upstairs in the last floor.
Yeah.
So and my children all sometimes run in the apartment. My neighbor below me always send the email to the administration, and the administration send back email saying, oh, please, I know you have children, but please careful. The first time that I give the the report,
Mhm.
the action that the request to me is put carpet in the old apartment.
Okay.
But in the contract said that I have to put carpets at least 80% of the area. So okay, it's very expensive. I never used carpet before. It's very
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
So I try to get some carpet I put in the principal area.
Mhm.
So but it's rude. But I never have. Or sometimes the neighbor hit my my
Oh,
floor.
wow.
I making some noises when I walk. But
Wow.
this case is that I received two visits from the administration to review my floor because the neighbor below the always is
Wow.
Wow.
I think that's what's hard is like living in an apartment, you're always going to hear your neighbors. Like it's
Yeah,
never going
that's
to
true.
be totally quiet. And it is always hard when you get someone that I think targets you, like, because I have a dog. And like my dog doesn't bark, but he's really big. So like if he gets excited and he's like running, like you hear it, like you know, downstairs, right? Like even now I live in a house, when he's upstairs and I'm downstairs, I know exactly where he's at, you know? And it's just because of the way that floors and ceilings work. So it is always a struggle when you have a neighbor that's kind of like has a vendetta against you, right? Like they're kind of like like if you're just walking from like your bedroom to the bathroom, like you know.
Yes, yeah.
Luis, but you rent your apartment, or you are the owner of the apartment?
No, I rent the apartment. Yeah,
But we keep it's better to have a house because it's they are children, you know. It's
yeah,
normal that
yeah. But
they know and they may
for
know.
me, I have 1 year and 4 months, so I don't have any uh, creditician historial.
Oh,
So
okay.
I have to wait at least 3 years or maybe 2 years to get one house or another
Got it.
kind. Yeah, yeah. For now,
Got
this
it.
I have to stay here
Wow.
in the apartment. The parking lot here is not a problem because the parking lot area is very big.
Mhm.
So the only rule is the each apartment have one parking lot in the front of the building. But if you have more than one car, you have to use the next parking lot. But it's very
Mhm.
big. Some people have 3 cars in this in this building.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So guys, we have right at a minute left before this session is going to end. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a 15-minute break, and I'm going to say we're going to come back right at 7 o'clock. Okay? So everybody log back in at 7 o'clock, and we'll have another 40-minute session. And what we'll do is we'll finish this page that we're looking at now. And then I have these, which are just really fun. So this one we're going to read through, and we have to decide where the spaces go, which is surprisingly hard. I tried to do this, my eyes just like crossed. So we're going to work on this one. And then we have these two readings where there is different errors in them, so we have to correct the errors. And that's what we're going to be doing in the second half of class. So finishing this page and then these 3 activities. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So I will see you guys here at 7 o'clock after everything in my Zoom gets set up and I can upload my video. And I will not record the second session because it's mostly just practice for us, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right.
See
Well, I will
you.
see you guys at 7.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Let me stop sharing and